Elon Musk has shared a load of new juicy details on Tesla's Robotaxi rollout, FSD licensing, the Optimus humanoid robot, and loads more with CNBS. Let's get into it.
Brian, thank you. And Elon Musk is here. We're in the lobby of the Gigafactory here in Austin. Last time I was here was your annual meeting a couple of years ago, so thank you for having us back.
Welcome back.
You got a Robotaxi right behind you.
We do?
Yeah, you can see it right there. And obviously you've been meeting with the Transportation Secretary.
Yeah.
Are you going to have full autonomous on the roads of Austin by the end of June?
Yes.
You are. What gives you that confidence?
We have cars driving 24/7 with drivers in the cars, and we see essentially no interventions. So we want to be very careful with the first introduction of unsupervised full self-driving, meaning that the car's driving around with no one in it.
Right.
So we're going to
no one behind a driver's.
Well, yes, and sometimes no one in it at all.
Right.
It's going to pick someone up. So the car obviously has to be incredibly safe. So we're just being, we have thousands of cars that are being tested, which is creating some strange situations where we just drive. There's just a bizarre number of Teslas driving past people's houses. They're like, what's going on?
I think we even saw one last night coming from the airport. Yeah, driving at night alone. So just, it looked very lonely.
It's just, it did look a little lonely.
Yeah.
So it's looking good for Austin next month.
Yeah, some estimates have been that you're only going to have 10 to 12 of them on the road initially. I mean, it's going to be a very small amount. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the first week.
First week. How do you see it ramping up?
Well, we'll have to see how well it does, but I think it's prudent for us to start with a small number, confirm that things are going well, and then scale it up proportionate to how well we see it's doing.
Right, and what's going to be a judge of how well it's doing?
I mean, are there any incidents? Are there any interventions? But we want to deliberately take it slow. I mean, we could start with 1,000 or 10,000 on day one, but I don't think that would be prudent. So we'll start with probably 10 for a week, then increase it to 20, 30, 40. And I think by, say, we'll probably be at 1,000 within a few months. Mm-hmm. And then we'll expand to other cities, so expand to San Francisco, California, Los Angeles, San Antonio.
Lots of great details there. Elon confirming again, Tesla on track to launch their Robotaxi service in Austin in June, starting with around 10 vehicles, but scaling up very rapidly from there, assuming things go well. In a few months after launch, if things go well, Tesla expecting 1,000 plus vehicles operating autonomously in different pockets of the US, if not specifically just in Austin. Last I heard, the total number of vehicles Waymo has on roads is around 1,500. Just think about that for a moment. Tesla could go from 0 autonomous vehicles on roads today to matching, then exceeding the number of vehicles Waymo has on roads in the span of just a few months. This is going to be a very big deal and a massive disruption. Elon wasn't done disclosing more comments and potential goals for Tesla's Robotaxi rollout. Check this out.
Is that a real possibility in the not too distant future? I mean, Texas is very different, I don't need to tell you, than California when it comes to regulation. They don't really have much here in terms of dealing with autonomous, but it's a different story in California.
Yeah, but California's already approved. Waymo has been doing autonomous driving in California for a while.
Right. But do you need a separate approval, or is it somehow...
Right now, the approval process is very haphazard and sort of state by state and sometimes city by city.
We were talking to the Secretary of Transportation about that very fact a moment ago, yeah.
Right. So it's going to be important to have a unified set of national regulations for self-driving cars. Otherwise, you're going to get into this weird situation where if you're driving from Maine to New York, you're going to go through 10 different sets of regulations. Cars are going to behave differently. It's not going to make any sense.
No.
So one set of regulations that, just like there is for highway driving, that's what I think makes sense for the country as a whole. But my prediction is that probably by the end of next year, we'll have probably hundreds of thousands, if not
hundreds of thousands,
if not over 1 million Teslas doing self-driving in the US.
Now, it should go without saying, but in case any DMFs are watching, a prediction is not a promise. However, this is Elon's best estimate based on what he's seeing, rate of progress, or how quickly Tesla's fleet of autonomous vehicles can scale. What he's talking about here are vehicles legally able to operate autonomously in the United States by end of next year, end of 2026, hundreds of thousands potentially, maybe 1 million. I'm going to say one more time. Today, the fleet of Waymo vehicles in its entirety, even if we're a bit generous, rounded up to 2,000 vehicles. 18 months from now, Tesla could have 50, 100, 200 times as many vehicles on roads operating autonomously throughout the United States. Here's a little bit of homework. Why not learn how many Uber drivers there are in the US, or better yet, how many full-time equivalent Uber drivers? Because many people do part-time or weekends or a day or two, but how many full-time equivalent Uber drivers are there operating vehicles in the US today? Come on, idea. By the way, more on Uber. By the way, rest in peace, Uber, later in this video.
Those are not, okay. What percentage of those are going to be, well, not the cybercab, you're just talking about on full self-driving, level 4.
Unsupervised full self-driving,
Right.
meaning you do not need to pay attention.
Right. For me, if I own a Tesla and I have the software and the capability of doing it.
Yes.
Right.
But we'll have a model which is kind of like some combination of Uber and Airbnb. So if you're a Tesla owner,
Right.
You'll be able to add or subtract your car to the fleet. So just like in Airbnb, you could like rent out your spare bedroom or rent out your house when you're not using it. And the same thing will be available for Tesla owners. So it's a way for Tesla owners to earn revenue. Instead of having your car sit in the parking lot, your car could be earning money.
You and I talked about that a couple of years ago, which takes me back a bit because, of course, I mean, you remember 2019, you were talking about 2020, the introduction of autonomous, and now you just introduced a fairly somewhat ambitious target. Why do you have the confidence now that in a year, there'll be 1 million available?
Well, and by the end of next year, I think.
End of next year.
So it's just more like 18 months.
26, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I think these things happen slowly, but then all at once. Mm-hmm. So, it's Peter Thiel has that book, 0 to 1. Once you have a proof point, once you have it working, then scaling up is, just a matter of time. So once it's working well in Austin, then we'll make sure it works well in other cities. I mean, there are obviously some unique cases like downtown New York, like if you're but that's a highly unusual situation. Most cities in America are like Austin. So
right. Although you can go on full self-driving right now in New York. I mean, you can obviously have to sit there behind the wheel,
yes.
and it'll do it.
Oh yeah, no,
it'll navigate the traffic. I've seen it.
Yes, no, even a Tesla that you buy right now, and the self-driving just costs $99 a month, will give you autonomous driving anywhere in the country right now. The question is, when is it unsupervised?
Right.
Where that's where we want
where you're sitting in the back, so to speak.
Yes, where you're like asleep, and the car, you wake up at your destination.
Yeah.
In order for that to be the case, we want the autonomous car to be much safer than a car driven by a person.
Obviously, an extremely high safety threshold for unsupervised FSD. And to Musk's comment about things happening slowly and then all at once, don't say he didn't warn you. This has been building now for the better part of a decade. And finally, next month, by the way, I'm recording this in late May, June, motherfuckers, Tesla begins scaling their fleet of autonomous vehicles, unsupervised FSD. First slowly and then all at once. By the way, in unrelated matters, I'd just like to have a moment of silence for anyone who's previously owned Tesla stock and sold before the first Robotaxis and before the Optimus humanoid robot. May they learn from this inevitably painful, possibly traumatic financial experience. Now Musk has some comments about FSD licensing.
Right. Again, I'll come to Waymo because even though they only have about 700 cars, they obviously are on the market. They're in Beverly Hills, all over the place.
It's a proof of concept.
They've got 28 cameras. They've got LiDAR and radar. You've had a different approach. 8 to 9 cameras and the neural network. Why do you feel that is going to be the equivalent in terms of safety profile?
Oh, I think it'll be better.
Why?
Because the way that the road system is designed is for AI. It's for intelligence, biological neural net, and eyes. That's how the whole road system is designed. So what will actually work best for the road system is artificial intelligence, digital neural nets, and cameras. And we also have the microphones so the car can hear emergency vehicles and that kind of thing.
Right. You are going to have the microphones to hear the
you need to hear.
That was a question. Right. You need to hear a fire engine or a police car.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
But that's how the whole road system is designed. It's not designed for shooting lasers out of your eyes.
By the way, this is one of those true head scratches. It's so obvious that a vision-based system will work. We have proof of concept, like 1 billion-ish examples, they're called humans, using a vision-based system. But stunningly, most people are of the opinion that it's not possible to solve autonomy without a bunch of sensors that the give or take billion humans don't have. You need to, as he points out, shoot a bunch of lasers. Like, what the fuck? I don't think I'm ever going to be able to put myself in the shoes of somebody who didn't understand this extremely simple point. Humans drive today with 2 cameras and a biological neural net called our brain. We can't see in all directions at once. Add a few more eyes, aka cameras, and a faster neural net, e.g. computer, and join the dots. Not a matter of if this will work, but when. Musk was right years ago when he said that any company using LiDAR was doomed. And literally years later, every company attempting to solve autonomy that ain't Tesla is still, believe it or not, using LiDAR.
What we found is that when you have multiple sensors, and they tend to get confused. So do you believe the camera or do you believe the LiDAR? And if you get confused, that's where you can, that's what can lead to accidents. So we used to have, for example, radar in the car, but we found that the radar and the camera would sometimes disagree, and then you don't know which one to believe.
So it wasn't about expense, it was just about...
No.
Yeah. Are you seeing the data
In fact, we turned off the radars in the cars.
You turned off the radar, yeah. So, I mean, are you comfortable right now? If I were to say to you, all right, let's go, you think that you're there in terms of the safety profile you're seeing right now?
Yeah, we could take a ride today if you want, sure.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to take a ride with you anytime you want, wherever you want. Logistics capability to operate sort of a ride-hailing fleet at scale, because you mentioned, obviously, let's call it the end of 26. Are you going to have an app? Are you there? Do you have that ability?
I think we can figure out an app.
You do?
Dude, I nearly spat my fucking electrolytes all over my computer listening to that. Oh, God. I can see where this is going already, man. If we were to create a list of the 100 most difficult challenges Tesla has already solved in the company's history, building an app for their Robotaxi service wouldn't even make the top 100. By the way, not an exaggeration, not hyperbole. The next level problem solving the gigabrains at Tesla have been doing day in, day out, week in, week out, month. For the history of the company, solving problems with manufacturing, bottlenecks, engineering, design, software, AI. Brother, a ride-hail app is not even close to top 100. The innovations they've done with battery manufacturing, lithium refinement, construction projects. So Elon's chuckle there is absolutely fair. I mean, look, obviously, David, he asked questions. I'm not a hater, right? But man, and I can see where this is going. And there's a lot of very, very smart people, and how do you know they're smart? Well, because they wear suits, who are still of the impression that either Tesla should buy Uber or partner with Uber to put their vehicles on the Uber app because Tesla are too retarded to figure out how to make the fucking ride-hail app themselves. Oh my God, dude. This is like those same dumb fucks who will say, well, Tesla should buy Rivian or Lucid. For what? They don't need them. God, I can see where this is going from a mile away. Yeah, just to be clear, Tesla does not need Uber, period.
It tells me.
You're not worried about it?
But Tesla already has an app.
Yeah, I know. But so is there going to be a ride-hailing app you'll introduce?
How to write an app, that's really not the...
It's not too hard?
No.
XAI can probably do it for you in like an hour.
Tesla can write apps just fine.
Do you ever consider licensing the technology at some point?
Yes, there are a number of major automakers that have talked to us about licensing self-driving, and we're very much open to that.
So this, in and of itself, is not news, although the way it was phrased, a number of major automotive manufacturers have talked to Tesla about licensing FSD, and there's likely to be a very long lead time on this, because there'll be initial discussions, e.g. Legacy Auto Company says to Tesla, hey, so we've wasted a lot of time and money on autonomy and realized we got no fucking hope. Could we potentially license this from you in the future? But we don't want to do it yet because we want to wait until you have approval to operate your vehicles autonomously before we're willing to put this software in our vehicles. And if that's the case, once that happens, spoiler alert, June, motherfuckers, what would we need to do in order to operate your FSD software in our vehicles? And the answer would be, well, you need an FSD computer, you need X amount of cameras, and our engineers will need to spend a few milliseconds reconfiguring the code based on camera placement on each of your vehicles, and then you're off to the races. The problem is, for a Legacy Auto Company, the lead time for them to actually begin producing a vehicle that's equipped with the FSD computer and the cameras and get those into volume production could be a number of years. So even the first licensing deal, which who knows, they may already have an in-principle agreement or two, may not come to fruition, e.g. have other automotive manufacturers' vehicles on roads operating the software for a number of years still. I mean, we could be talking 27, 28, 29 before the first non-Tesla vehicles are operating Tesla's FSD. But make no mistake, in the future, if your vehicle can't operate autonomously, you're bankrupt.
I think the more we demonstrate the capability of self-driving, the more that they will want to license it, and we're happy to help.
Back to the safety profile, because it's going to obviously be something, a key focus. Business Insider, take it for what you want, but I saw this over the weekend. They did a test between Waymo and Tesla.
By the way, Business Insider, I wouldn't wipe my ass with that publication. One of the worst propaganda outlets on the planet. Can't wait to hear about this quote-unquote test.
And they weren't critical at all.
Business Insider is not a real publication.
No, but it did seem...
They're a fake...
Regardless of whether we want to have a...
He ain't wrong.
...debate about their journalistic integrity, which I don't. The test itself, let me just share it with you and get your reaction, which was the Waymo, ultimately, they said, proved better, in part only because it avoided, with its geofencing, one very difficult intersection that the Tesla chose to go through. It stopped at a red light, but then it went through the red light. What's your reaction?
Look, I'm not going to comment on some Business Insider article.
But is that a concern at all? Because in a way, there's no geofencing, so it's like it's happy to go on the highways in a way that perhaps a Waymo's not. I guess my question is that a concern at all for you in terms of it encountering things that are still sort of a crucial test and perhaps it fails?
No, first of all, that actually should have been a test of supervised self-driving, supervised self-driving, not unsupervised self-driving. So the assumption there is that you have a person who is going to take over.
Right.
So their test made no sense.
Okay.
When we deploy the cars in Austin, we are actually going to deploy it not to the entire Austin region, but only to the parts of Austin that we consider to be the safest. So we will geofence it.
You will?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
By the way, anyone with a quarter of a brain cell would realise this. Tesla's not going to roll out their software, their autonomous vehicles, where they don't believe they're safe. They have to, by default, start small and scale up from there. Meaning they're going to lock in, do small geofence pockets of cities, and then widen those little nets, so to speak, as the safety profile improves, and then scale rapidly from there. And because Tesla already has a fleet of vehicles of millions operating massive scale, they know where there are issues still with the software. They know where the vehicles can't drive autonomously unsupervised today safely.
It's not going to take intersections unless we are highly confident it's going to do well with that intersection. It'll just take a route around that intersection.
But there won't be a safety driver in the car.
Correct.
Right. The car, there's not going to be somebody sitting there.
Right.
Confirmation there of what we all could have guessed. No safety drivers in the vehicles because Tesla's not going to be operating them where they're not confident they can operate autonomously. Imagine that.
Why doesn't Tesla buy Uber?
Here it is. Spoiler alert. There is literally zero value Tesla could acquire by buying Uber. Zero. They have nothing to offer whatsoever. Tesla has a massive scale. Brilliant engineers. This is exactly the same question as why doesn't Tesla buy Rivian or Lucid or General Motors or Toyota? Nothing of value. Cheeky look on David's face, almost like he knows he's going to get a reaction out of this one. But I mean, obvious things are obvious here. There's no point. Uber has nothing to offer Tesla. And to be clear, Tesla isn't opposed to acquisitions. After all, many years ago, acquired Maxwell Technologies, next minute, massive battery progress with the 4680 cell. Tesla has actually made a number of acquisitions in their history as a company, but only when it made sense. Only when the target of acquisition had something of value, something that Tesla needed. Uber does not.
There's no need because we have a large number of cars. We have millions of cars that will be able to operate autonomously. And I should say that it's a combination of a Tesla-owned fleet and also enabling Tesla owners to be able to add or subtract their car to the fleet, so that existing Tesla owners will be able to earn money by adding their car to the fleet for autonomous use. And I think it's maybe possible for Tesla owners to make more in allowing the car to be added to
used, which you discussed,
the self-driving fleet, that then they cost them in the lease.
Right.
And that's why I'd say consider it sort of a business model that's similar to some combination of Airbnb and Uber. Just like Airbnb, you can rent out your spare bedroom or your house if you're not using it, and make money on it. And that's what we expect Tesla customers to be able to do.
Right. And as this scales up, you said earlier, you feel like you have the logistics ability and the ability to create the app as well, of course, and anything else around that needs to occur.
Yeah, I don't think we're missing anything. Tesla has all the ingredients necessary to offer a vast self-driving fleet overnight.
Yeah. While I'm on the subject of deals, and this will take me actually to XAI, go a few places. But, you know, I did note earlier in an interview you did earlier today, not with me, you're busy, man. You do a lot of different media during the day sometimes, huh?
Yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah. You'd indicated that you would like more control at Tesla.
Yes, I mean, really just enough control to not get ousted by activist investors at some point in the future.
Yeah.
So that's what I've said is like something.
You've said that before.
Yeah, no, I've said something new, which is that around the sort of 25% level, you know, that means I can certainly be thrown out if I go crazy.
Right.
But it really requires, you know, a lot. You know, like. That's the number that I feel comfortable at, because that's where I have some control, but not so much control that I can't be thrown out.
And now finally, some comments on the Optimus humanoid robot.
You know, you said recently tens of billions of robots, but that's decades away.
At least 1 decade away.
It's got to be more than that.
It's going to grow very fast.
Why do you think that?
I think humanoid robots will be the biggest product ever. The demand will be insatiable.
You've said that.
Everyone's going to want one. It's like, basically, who wouldn't want their own personal C-3PO R2-D2?
No,
everyone's going to want one.
You've said that, and you know your goal. You've also said is to produce 1 million robots. I think by 2030. That's what I had you on the record as saying.
I think that's a reasonable target.
And then start towards sustainable abundance, which you can get into. But you know, I wonder. We've been talking about autonomous and how long it takes to train the automobile to be able to be the equivalent of or exceed human capabilities. But what about these robots? To the extent that how much training are they going to need to actually be able to do various different types of tasks? Isn't that something that's going to take a long time? Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of compute resources, and it'll take time. I think there's certain threshold breakthroughs that we think we can achieve, where if Optimus can watch videos, you know, YouTube videos or how-to videos or whatever, and based on that video, just like a human can, learn how to do that thing, then you really have task extensibility that is dramatic. Because then it can learn anything very quickly. So I think we'll get there in the next.
We're not there yet, though.
We're not there yet.
You're relying on a significant uptick in terms of learning and training.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm calling it a very significant threshold. Would be
understood.
The ability to learn from watching a video. Just so
right.
But at the point
as opposed to watching a human, right? Which is or having a human sort of train it right now with a task.
I mean. Right now, we're training Optimus to do like primitive tasks where a human in a kind of a what's called a mocap suit is and sort of cameras on the head is moving in the way that the robot would move to, say, pick up an object or open a door or the basic tasks, throw a ball, dance, and we need to I think that's needed to sort of bootstrap the intelligence so you can have the basic functions. Then where I think it gets very interesting and very much like humans is that you want the robot to self-play. Right. So you say, how does a child learn? Well, a child has toys, and a child plays with the toys, plays with the blocks, you know, at some point figures out how to put the triangle in the triangle hole and the circle in the circle hole. By doing it over and over again, and this self-play. Once you have a lot of robots, you can do this self-play, which is that you just put the robot in a room with toys, and have the robot literally have the robot play with toys,
and it will learn.
Yeah, and you have to have a reward function. Say like, okay, the goal of the robot is to put, you know, that classic child's toy. You put the circle in the circle hole, the square in the square hole, triangle in the triangle hole, and keep doing it until it works. And the reward function is succeeding. And
there are no advances needed to accomplish that now? I mean, no advances in AI or just compute and things of that nature that can happen?
There are some advances needed, but I don't think these are insurmountable. I think we can solve these things in the next few years.
And this conversation is funny. It kind of reminds me of like 10 plus, maybe even 15 years ago. But Elon, the cost of batteries are so expensive in electric vehicles, they're not affordable to the average consumer. Aren't the cost of batteries going to need to come down dramatically for people to be able to afford electric vehicles for the mass market? Aren't there massive breakthroughs that will be required in battery costs and manufacturing techniques to drive the cost of electric vehicles down? It's like, yes. And And again, in fairness to David, look, he's just asking the questions, but we have an extensive multi-decade history of technological improvements. These breakthroughs are not a matter of if, but simply when. And all you need to do, look around and see what's been happening with AI progress over the last decade, from image categorization in the early days to image generation, language models, computer vision. The necessary breakthroughs and progress to massively scale increasingly intelligent and capable humanoid robots are inevitable and likely to happen much sooner than most people realize. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.